In this video, we're going to break some myths and stereotypes that you might have after losing your sight. What's up, VIPs? Derek here from lifeaftersightloss.com. And a lot of times after somebody loses their sight, they have thoughts of what it's going to be like. And some of these are stereotypes. You know, normally we talk about how sighted people have stereotypes and myths about visual impairment. But here we want to talk about some of the things that you might think after losing your sight. Some of the things you might think, wow, this is really going to happen to me, or this is how I'm going to have to live my life now. So we're going to bust some of those myths and tear down some of those stereotypes right now. By the way, if you're new around here, my name is Derek and I help people just like you to discover life after sight loss. Here you'll find product reviews, life advice, encouragement, how-tos, and so much more. So I'd love for you to consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and turning on notifications so that you don't miss another single video. So the first stereotype we want to break is this idea that you can't do anything that is sporting related. You know, a lot of times when somebody loses their sight, they might have a really fun activity they enjoy, maybe a sport that they play, and they think, well, that's over. I can't play any more sports, especially with a ball getting thrown at me, or, you know, if I'm going to have to run a far distance. Lots of different things happen, and you think, oh, I can't do that. But as we've seen over the last few years, sporting activities for the visually impaired are really, really growing. There's beep ball, there's goal ball, there's tennis and golf, and all kinds of games that are being adapted for blind and visually impaired people. So this idea that you can't play any sporting event after losing your sight is such a stereotype that is really getting pounded into the ground, and it's just not true. So yes, for sure, you can do sporting events. The second stereotype that a lot of people have is that they're going to have to buy a whole bunch of expensive equipment. Now, when I lost my sight back in 2001, I did have to get some equipment. You know, there just wasn't a lot of mainstream stuff out there. I had to buy big monitors, I had to buy, you know, scanners and big things for the computer. It was a lot of stuff. But now, that stereotype is really getting sort of just diminished because a lot of mainstream stuff is becoming accessible. iPhones, Android phones, televisions, computers, magnifiers, all kinds of things are becoming more mainstream, which means the cost is going down. Well, the cost in relationship to some of those more expensive items. I mean, you're not going to pick up an iPhone for, $25 or anything, but in comparison, a lot of those things have really gone down. For example, when I first lost my sight, I had to buy Zoom Text for my computer, and Zoom Text is a pretty expensive program. But now I use a Mac that has a built-in screen reader, has a built-in magnifier, and all that stuff, so I don't have to buy anything extra. Now, yes, my Mac did cost a little bit, but the point is, you're not necessarily going to have to go out and buy a whole bunch of separate equipment to sort of live your life on a regular basis. Yes, some of those products are really nice and can be helpful, but with so many mainstream things becoming accessible nowadays, that stereotype of expensive equipment, well, it's just going away. The third stereotype is that you're going to have to go to a special school. Now, let me go ahead and say what I mean by this. You know, if a child loses their sight for whatever reason, sometimes they will go to a blind school. And sometimes they'll go there, fully. Sometimes they'll go there just partially and, go to public school regularly. Sometimes whenever you lose your sight as an adult, you think, oh, I'm going to have to go away to this special school and, be gone for a long period of time, and I'm going to be separated from, the public and my family and so forth. And here's the thing. Sometimes in some situations, going to a special school, and I'm putting special school in quotes because I'm sort of, lumping a lot of things together, that can be really beneficial. But it's not like once you lose your sight, you're going to have to now go to a school and be separated from everybody. It's for training purposes. It's to help you, live your life to the fullest as a visually impaired person. But it's not like some rule and regulation that if you lose your sight when you're 7 years old, they're pulling you from the public school and sticking you in a blind school. I think that blind schools have great advantages and can be wonderful, but it's not necessarily a have-to that is some law that, somebody wrote and said, well, you're blind, you got to go to the special school. Again, it's a stereotype that all blind people get shoved into this school. I'm sure there are lots of blind kids who go to public school, and there are adults who do just fine without going off to a year-long training kind of program. Now, let me go ahead and clarify. If you went to a training program as an adult, you're like, it was great. Hey, kudos to you. I think that's wonderful. All I'm saying is that sometimes we get the stereotype that I'm going to be shipped off somewhere because something's wrong with me. And that's just not true. And our fourth stereotype is that now nothing will ever be the same. Now, that's actually kind of true and kind of false. We talk a lot on this channel about how things are going to change in your life, how life is really not going to be the same. But that idea that nothing will be the same, like it's nothing, your life is totally over and now you're going to have to be living a completely different life, that's really false. Because let's face it, you're still going to have the same likes and dislikes, you're going to enjoy the same TV shows, you're going to like the same sports teams, you're going to have the same hobbies, maybe you'll have some new hobbies, you never know. But it's not like your life is going to so much change that you won't even be who you are anymore. We talked recently about identity and who you are as a person, not just a visually impaired person, and that doesn't change. Yeah, you might find some new hobbies, some new likes, you might enjoy things differently, you might do things differently, but as far as your life being so much different that nobody would recognize it, well, that's just a stereotype, and that's not true. So there you go, guys. 4 stereotypes that you might have after losing your sight, and talking about them and breaking them up just a little bit. Now, stereotypes can have some truth behind them. Yeah, you might go to a training program for a year. Yeah, you might have a lot of changes in your life. Yeah, sporting events might be a little more difficult. Those can have some truth, but to put a blanket statement on those kinds of things and say never and change and always and things like that, that's just not true. So I want you to take those and others and remember that even though life is going to be different, even though life may not look exactly the same, those stereotypes shouldn't get in your way. So my question for you today is this: what is one thing that you thought when you started losing your sight that turned out not to be true? Was it something like how your life was never going to be the same? Was it something about sporting events? Was it something about, having a different hobby? All those kinds of things. What's one thing you believed about sight loss and visual impairment that ended up not being true, or at least not being exactly the way you thought once you entered into sight loss? I'd love to hear about it, and I know others would as well, so let me know in the comments below. Hey, if you liked this video, if you found it helpful, make sure to show your support and give it a big thumbs up and share it out with somebody that you know. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss another single video. Thanks so much for watching wherever you are, and until next time, remember that sight loss isn't the end, it's just the beginning. My name's Derek Daniel from LifeAfterSightLoss.com, and I'll see you in the next one.